Thank you that you came to here to me. So this is my second presentation. The first was about new technology in a way, and now it's a government perspective. I think that there's a meeting of the Minister of Labour and the Minister of Health, and they want to decide where to put more money for prevention. So they should have a background and some knowledge. Okay. So, and that's why I have a position with the government, and I finished this study last December, so it's quite a new study. We already discussed it within the government, so conclusions are kind of accepted. And it's about Switzerland, but I think we can generalize many things and should be also valid for Japan. And the question is actually which disorder should we study, what can be work-related, and actually nearly everything can be work-related. But what is then more specifically the role of working conditions? And the question I was concentrating on is how many health problems can be attributed to high work demands. And this is a more epidemiological, practical approach. So in which situations do we have problems is the main question. And not like a scientific paper, what is cause of this and what is cause of that, so where do we have the problems. And then we would also like to know the size of attributable costs. And this report, it's easiest to find if you use Google, Läubli Gesundheitskostensektor. Then you can find it. It's in 4 languages, but not in Japanese. Okay, yes. Okay, and this is the outline of my presentation. So I will give a kind of background, and then the Swiss situation and the general statements. And I have like 3 parts. Just the amount of health problems, then the correlation between high demand and work and health. And I will present some kind of analysis that I think is much better suited than what you normally see in literature. One is using cluster analysis, and I will explain a bit about that. If you would be studying epidemiology, probably that would be very interesting for you, but you are not, but still you are here anyway, so I like to give you some ideas how this can be analyzed. And I think it's old methods, but in occupational health, it rarely or never has been used before. And this leads to some conclusions. So sometimes I show Swiss figures, so I checked about the relationship in size between Switzerland and Japan. So this is Swiss situation, and I'm looking at the employed workforce because legislation is not about self-employed, it's only about employed. And then on average, Japan has 17 times more workers, and you see the number of females employed in Switzerland. The proportion of a working female is a bit bigger, so here is this number. But most female workers work part-time in Switzerland, so this difference is not so big. And so why the topic? We had in Switzerland, we made a very careful epidemiologic study about do you suffer from stress, and is this a problem that is quite severe. And you see 1 in 3 people suffer from stress. So this is a very dominant problem, and I know that also in Japan, actually worldwide, this is a very prevalent problem. And if it's 1 in 3, that's really something we should do against. And then work-related back pain is also a problem. And I made the first analysis for that together with Christian Müller before he came to KIT. I showed him how to do this kind of analysis, and we did it together. And we would so guess that like 2 million Japanese employees suffer from regular low back pain. Yes. And then I calculated based on very rough estimations the loss to companies, and this is just enormously, it's very, very much. So actually it's clear actually if we could reduce it, that would also be an economic profit. But sometimes it's not so easy to understand the reason of work-related problems. So this is also from a work of a master thesis, and it's about it was about the health in a collecting system for urban wastewater. You see here there's some measurement equipment, and look how they are dressed. And this is really a sewage system. It might come from a hospital or whatever. And, yes. But we checked their health, and actually it's about normal. So it's surprising, but here we have very little health problems. But one thing probably is that they are kind of skilled and they don't have any time pressure. And then looking at the size of the problem, I found actually this rather new study, a very careful conservative study, and he checked the deaths caused by work, so it's from Northern Europe, and the conclusion is it's surely 2.5% in women or 3.9% in men. So this is now death, actually too early death, so it's a serious effect. And then if we go to the costs, it's not so easy to really calculate it. I will give some details later. But there are two very nice reports, one from Australia and one from Germany. The Germany is a more conservative one, so they only guess what is quite sure. And in Australia, the approach is like what is most probable. And then this gives them the size and this is like 2.2 to 5.9% of gross domestic income. So that means we could actually, if we would get rid of this problem, we would be as rich as before, but we would spend 2 weeks of holiday each year. And when we transform that into numbers, it's something like that. Okay. But of course, if we work, we produce something, and work is necessary. And it's also clear that to be unemployed is less healthy than to work. So we just can't, it's not possible to forbid work and then we are healthy. Work has very big meaning for our self-esteem, for instance. with our study, Christian and me, actually, when we published it, that it's so expensive, we made it in the headline of the most popular Swiss journal. So it's also, we had also in journals many articles about that. So actually the awareness is here, but to my point of, I think there isn't enough done. So we know, but we don't do so much. Now, we started to work together with health economists, and this slide is from a good professor in health economics, and it shows now where do we have costs if there's a disease or a work-related disorder. And first, it's the costs that are difficult to calculate, and it's loss of quality of life and loss of years lived. Then this we know very well. We need treatment, and that's kind of service that other persons deliver. And third, we have loss in productivity, loss of work capacity. Actually, this is a very big part of total cost. And if we want to have an economic system just to optimize, actually it's possible to measure these costs. And this is with the concept of quality adjusted life years or disability adjusted life years. And in the last years, actually, the International Medical Association, actually sponsored by Bill Gates, tries to measure this every few years worldwide, and also to look which country is best. And of course, Japan and Switzerland are among the very good ones. So if we want to convince the companies to do more, actually then one way is to show them what they lose and what they could profit if they would invest in more health program and so. And so we have now this the treatment, the intangible cost, and now for companies. And in companies, we have clear if somebody dies, he will lose a skilled worker and a loss of workforce. With disability, working capacity will be also partly or totally lost. And then also what we always know, absenteeism. So if you have the flu or something like that, then you don't work. But what only in the last years became evident that actually this is the biggest cost. And what does it mean? That, for instance, you have low back pain, but you go working. And actually, probably there are calculations like 4 in 5, they have like the same productivity with or without low back pain. But 1 in 5 has severe problems, and because these disorders are so prevalent, this accumulates to a huge amount of money. So for company, actually, it's no solution at all to tell, oh, you must come to work, if you are sick, doesn't matter, please come, because very often productivity is then very low. And then in our department, actually, like capitalistic view of economy and free market is a very important ideology. So if we want that government acts, we need a kind of proof that it's necessary and that market doesn't help. So one bad experience is then use of asbestos, and this is a situation in Switzerland. So peak use was around 1975, and now this is cases of mesothelioma, And this is projection. So we had reaction somewhere here, and the industry needed to react. And actually the size of the problem at this time wasn't so big. And now we reacted, but 30 years later, there's a problem. So there's not only Fukushima, there's also something like asbestos or things like that. So then we always need to ask why was prevention so late. In Switzerland it was so that the family Schmidheini, they are owners of a big part of Swiss industry, also asbestos producing, and they had a dual strategy. They wanted to produce as long as possible, so they delayed. But at the same time, they developed the alternative, so that when it's forbidden, then they have other products. Okay. So without them, maybe we would have already come here. Yes, and now it's very, very expensive to get rid of asbestos. So now I show some workplaces, and it's all from Switzerland, so it's all from Mars. These are things like that are collected by myself. It's not from the weather, so it gives you an impression about working conditions in Switzerland. Then a second example, and here I was kind of very proud and very satisfied that we achieved that. This was a case in film montage for the news, and they had a new system with a joystick, and of course news is always under time pressure, and the software was very, very bad, and so they were very stressed, and 6 out of 13 employees developed tendinitis. And now this is causing factors, but this is not the ergonomic textbook. This is now the ruling by the judges, so they learned. And they also learned that it's really the combination, if this all together. And this combination, how do we deal with it if we do studies? That it's not single causes, so we cannot have like a two-dimensional diagram. Here's the cause and here's the effect. And this is part of now of the content of my presentation. How can we deal with that? Okay. And now we do it with examples. Switzerland, and first we just look at the prevalence of work-related health problems. And I like this data so much because it's very special. It was only this time that they used this question, and they don't use it anymore. But here they really went to random selection of employees. Each country of Europe did take part. So the total is several thousand subjects, and in Switzerland it's nearly 1,000. And they were asked, does your work affect your health or not? And only if they said yes, which health problem do you have? If they said no, they didn't ask about any health problem. So now this is now judged by the employees that their health is negatively influenced by work, and then they tell what kind of symptoms they have. And you now see 35% in men and 24% in women. Normally, women have more health complaints. Can you figure out why now with this very special question, it's less women that have a health complaint? It's not because they have more healthy workplaces, so partly it is. But partly it's also because they work part-time, so work isn't so important for their life. And then to work at home, to work for children is important. And of course, the people we ask, they can't really discriminate what is the cause, because, for instance, if you do cleaning work and then being home, you carry your child, it's load on your arm. And if you feel the pain while you carry your child, you say it's not work-related. Then maybe if you would do some sports and exercise instead of working, then looking for your child is no problem. Now, here's the percentage with work-related health effects. Now, these symptoms, males and women, there would be more symptoms. So such a question is kind of, can be used to study backache, muscle pain, stress, fatigue, irritability, headaches, sleeping problems, injury. But if we ask about cancer also, yes, they aren't at the workplace anymore, so to study things like that, we need other methods. And you see backache now, 20% of the male employees suffer from back pain, so 1 in 5, so that's really kind of stress. So this is the topic, and we often read also in the newspaper. And now this is a male in a cab of the train, and one of the most difficult thing in Switzerland is for him that especially now during dark December, males and but also females would make suicide, and they throw themselves before train. And then he sees, oh, there's one lying on the track, but to stop the train maybe it needs 2 kilometers. So he stops and sees, oh, I can't move, and then the person is killed. So there are many different exposures, and not all of them are easily visible. So, and this is really a problem for them. And then maybe irregular working hours. In Switzerland, train pilots, they really like their job. And then now a highly qualified job, and very often studied. You have really very constant head posture. And why is the head posture so constant? Because you need to have a very clear visual field, so your eyes must stay always at the same point. And but you are breathing and your heart beats, so you have a conscious tension of your muscle, and this is not healthy. We will talk about that a little tomorrow. Now I said this is a very special question. It's only the work-related question. But we have also with other surveys any health problems. But now you see any health problems, male and female. Now it's as we are used to see that females more often tell about health problems. It's very difficult to find out, do they tell more or do they have more? In Switzerland we think it's more that they have a better feeling of their body, so they more readily will tell. Also they are more often they go to the family doctor. How is it in Japan? Who goes more often to the family doctor, males or females? Nobody knows. And now, if we calculate from this percentage the number of affected employees for backache, muscular pain, stress, overall fatigue, then it's very high numbers. And also, but if we look at the data, if we add up this and this and this and this, then at the end it's more than the total sample. So there must be something wrong with this. And if you want to calculate for Japan, so it's surely millions of employees suffering from work-related health problems. And now here you see a projection, and it was about possible of this backache, muscular pain, and stress. And the size of the surface is about proportional to the percentage. So let's see. So backache is this circle, 21% as we seen before. Stress 22%. So these circles have about the same size. Muscular pain is less frequent, though this circle is smaller. And then we have also general exhaustion is 13%. So in here, these subjects tell about the backache, stress, muscle pain, and general exhaustion. Actually, if we look at stress, backache, and muscle pain, we have also included general exhaustion. So why is this important, and why do I tell you? If you go to literature, you find many field studies. What is the risk factor for backache? But actually, if I study backache, I also study stress and other muscular pains at the same time, because it's highly overlapping. And go to the journal, it's very rarely discussed that this is a problem. And also with stress. So in the end, we go to literature and see risk factor for stress and backache. Backache is nearly the same. But this is because there's this overlap, and we need a more clear case definition. This is in males. And yes, this is, we are building the new tunnel through the Alps. So that's a picture from building this tunnel now. Actually, breakout is finished. And let's go now, same to women. We had less problems, so the circle is smaller. But here the overlap is really impressive. So actually it's kind of rare to have backache without stress symptoms. And if you look at this lady, she is handling heavy weights, but at the same time she has maybe a constrained posture. We don't see about time pressure, but so that she has stress, musculoskeletal problems, back pain at the same time can easily be so. So this was the part, just the prevalence of problems and overlap of problems. Now about the relationship between high demand and work. First I need to give a kind of definition when is work demand high. We had 118 variables about working conditions. And they had very different kind of scales. Very often it's a scale like that. Please tell me using the following scale, are you exposed at work to, for instance, carrying or moving heavy loads? All of the time, almost, all, around 3/4, around half, around half, almost never, no opinion. Okay, and then we have the sample and the percentage. And to have a more simple analysis, I define the 10 to 20% with highest exposure, this is high demand. So this is now high demand compared to typical situation in Switzerland. It's not physical, it need not be a high demand physically, but compared to the other workplaces, it's 20% most exposed. And then I can calculate the attributable cases. If you don't carry heavy loads, then around 10% suffer from low back pain, so that any other causes, maybe a high time pressure or things like that. So this is the level that exists also if you don't carry any load. And then I made the definition here, and I defined this as attributable cases, and this actually I put together and said not attributable. So that means the attributable cases I calculate is a conservative estimate. Actually, it's a bit more, but because cases are so different, I prefer to have just a yes/no analysis. And now we can calculate for each of these many working conditions what is most important. I did it for all the symptoms and report maybe 150 pages that we will not stay maybe until next week and continue to speak. So I give some examples. So the dimension is work-life ergonomics, work environment, and work organization, and this is dominant problems. It's always standing or walking, tiring, painful positions, heavy loads, vibrations, and exposure to smoke. And now see, it's backache and smoke. So why is it? I will. It's an artifact. I will show later. Because most than if there are machinery or fumes or something or dust, this might be construction industry, though at the same time you have vibrations and carrying or moving head. So this is only an indicator that other health problems are present too. And then not having the chance to take a break on the work-life balance, not good. So this is most important risk factors for low back pain. Okay. So you see the total is 425 of all cases with backache, but if I add up, this is much more. So that means this is kind of first analysis, but it's not really a true one. So often we use logistic regression, and who knows logistic regression that is present. So this is most important method in epidemiology of work-related health problems, because you can analyze many factors at the same time. So how you do it? We have had this seen also already. Yes, no, health problem is present, is not present. Then the exposure can be present and not present. And then we can calculate yes through no, yes to no, and then we calculate this through this, and then we get the odds ratio. And this is always very similar to just the relative risk. You know what is popular. But odds ratio is much better for statistical analysis. And in several studies, it's the only measure you can use. Yes, so this is very popular. So at least once in your life you have now heard what's the odds and what's the odds ratio. And of course the relative risk is big the bigger this is, and odds ratio also increases the bigger the risk, the higher the odds ratio. And the advantage of the odds ratio is that now I can calculate, considering all the other effects, does this factor also contribute to the problem? And then the number of factors that contribute to the problem will be smaller, because if factors always are present at the same time, then this model will choose only one of these and hopefully the most appropriate one. And so now here we have like the list before. Now if we kind of compensate or take in account that we have measures of similar things, then in the end it's standing, carrying or moving heavy loads, vibrations, and then high temperatures causing perspiration, so really heavy work. So now the analysis makes sense. And so now we are here, this is only an indicator. Workplaces with this often have other factors, so it's an indicator of risk for low back pain, but it doesn't cause. And now with odds ratio, the probability that it's causative is much bigger. So this is a general way to do analysis. But of course, this is correlations. So this is not a proof for causation. For proof of causation, it must be sure that the exposure was first and then the disorder. Think, for instance, I have low back pain, I work in industry, and then I go to office, and I do sitting work in the office, and I carry my back pain to the office, and then I will find a person with back pain with sitting work. But the start was not sitting work, he had back pain, and that's why he changed to sitting work. So mistakes like that can be present in logistic regression. So we need further analysis, but with this approach we cannot, so this is kind of the end. And for the work organization time pressure topic, now also other factors appeared, and this is well known from literature that really work-life balance is important. So this now it's a very modern topic to study work-life balance, and also disruptions. So if you have your normal workflow and then you are disrupted, this causes back problem. So you must be very nice with Morimoto. If he works, don't disturb him, because he might get back problem if you do so. Okay. And now this is like kind of state of the art. Normally analysis is done like that, but now I show it has severe problems, maybe not the optimal solution. Now you know this presentation already from symptoms, but now it's about exposures. And now you see this breathing in smoke, fumes, powder and dust, and vibrations and noise. Normally it's the same. So if you have a machine and the machine produces some dust, vibrations and noise, of course it's together. So actually we would need to study more combination of exposures. And then in Switzerland, actually, this is the most common complaint, working at very high speed. So, you know, here the percentage is 61. So everybody complains about that. Everybody is highly exposed. I couldn't find really high exposed. Yes. So you see, Switzerland, we work much too fast. We produce so much, and now the Swiss franc goes up and up. And we have economic problems because we are too efficient. So also to be too efficient can be a problem. Yes, and here, for instance, you see I use this normally with students to say, everybody wants to work in nature. Nature is so healthy. So he works in a forest, and in Switzerland, pesticides are not allowed in forests, so like organically grown wood, but he has a lot of fume and lots of exposure. So then one way out of this problem that I propose is that we just calculate no problem of these many exposures here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is then clearly, you cannot have 1 and 3 problems at the same time. You are either in this group or in this group. So there is no overlap anymore. And now we see that there's a very steady increase, more exposures there are. So in the modern workplaces, it's really the combination that is important. The more exposures you have, the more critical it is. And this is about ergonomics in Switzerland. This is preparation for operation. And here the patient is prepared. And then all the many tubes must be exchanged and is sent into the operation hall. Of course, it looks complicated, it's complicated, it takes a long time. We really would need somebody that is specialist in human factors ergonomics to improve the situation. But we can't convince the hospital organization that this is necessary. So it's kind of strange. Yes, but in most countries there is this problem. So I think you have also this program how to adapt like the environmental design to the needs of the human, of the aging society. So yes, this is an old problem. How do we adapt the workplace to the needs of intelligent and capacity concentrate of humans? And also simple things often are not solved, so there's a high risk for fraud. And not, we have lots of foreign workers in Switzerland, so if the design is for Swiss people, but then it's foreign workers, then there's no fit. So this was for males, and now for females. And now kind of similar picture, heavy loads, tiring positions, vibrations, disruptions, work-life balance, dissatisfaction. So similar. Then if we do now logistic regression, now it comes out carrying or moving persons. So in Switzerland, and this is nursing. So we have severe health problems with nursing in Switzerland, and from Maso Nakaseko learned that the same is true also in Japan. And then also vibrations. You see it's a risk of 7. So this is very, very, very high risk. It's not so many women that exposed. So the number of afflicted person is not so high. So in Japan it would be about 500,000. And then also take the break. Shift work is also a problem. Dissatisfaction with work. And in Switzerland, what is also a problem in women, if they are responsible for family income. So if you often they have child at home are responsible for family income. This is one of the major social problems in Switzerland. So when it comes out, if you analyze this kind of thing. And now if the exposures here, this is the most prevalent exposures. Also bullying and sexual harassment is a problem in Switzerland. Here the overlap isn't so big. So if we analyze separately, it would can make sense. And we don't have so much industry, but lots of service. And also here ergonomics is very important. You see that's very high, so that's very strenuous task. This is strenuous for the back and for the upper extremities. And as you know, if there are many customers, there is very high time and pressure. And with women again, I made this scale 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The more exposures there are, the higher the prevalence. And see, if there are 4 more, nearly every woman will have a problem. So if we want to do prevention, we must avoid so if you do heavy lifting and vibration, it should be forbidden to have time pressure, for instance. Yes, and here this is cash register operator is something you know very well, and this is many exposures at the same time. Over how many exposures there are. And I'm nearly at the end, and I give you cluster analysis. What is cluster analysis? Actually, the name says it, tells it very well. So I had this like 100 descriptions of exposures at the job, and then I just calculate which person has the most similar exposure compared with another one. And the two that have most similar exposure, they are now a cluster. And now I have like, instead of 100 persons, this at the start is 100 cluster, I have 99. And now I do the same. Which 2 persons or clusters are most similar, and then can I make a cluster. And then it's arbitrary how many clusters I allow. I just allow so many that they are big enough to make further calculations. But this is done without knowing about health problems. So this measure is independent from the health problem. So now afterwards I can look at combination of exposures. This is here. And we had seen that it's kind of clear if you make with machinery, very often all these exposures are here at the same time. And then here now do you have health problems? And now you see this is really a problem. And if you go office work now and they really don't tell about environmental problems, have no physical demands, then the prevalence is near 0. So in Switzerland, about 20% of employees have working conditions that do not cause any health problems, and 20% have working conditions that nearly everybody has a health problem. So this, I think this isn't such a nice situation. Also, here probably you earn a lot, and probably here you earn little. And then sitting to prepare for the next talk is not is here, but something that is correlated with sitting, that is 8 hours computer work, nothing else. This is also in the group with the health problems. So this is males. Again, this picture, the combination. Then we still have a few foundries. So this is near my hometown, a foundry. Of course, they produce very special alloys. Normal foundries we don't have in Switzerland anymore. And now this is women. And in women, it's also like a wet unit, hot vibration, and they don't like their job, or they have a supervisor that is not nice. But then many will have health problems. And then it really comes out that nurses is a problem, and that also have workplaces with nearly no problem. So, and this is a project, and actually, I think in Japan you work very hard to produce robots that help. So the question is actually, do we need a robot that does the task, or should we have something like an exoskeleton or so that the nurse has much force? We think actually something like that would be nicer, because then we can decide what we do. So the decision control is fully with the employee, but his job has just more force. And I think that's something we like. Even a child likes very much to decide what to do, but can also that it can do it. Okay, so what's the conclusion? We have really exposures that are important. What is special about this table is it's not kind of, from a scientific point of view, the most dangerous, but the most important. So this causes health problems in Switzerland, and maybe similar exposures will cause health problems in Japan. This is for men. Actually very nearby, I'm working. Here's a coffee shop for students. And this is the famous ETH produced by Semper. We had also a workshop in this building, I think a second kit workshop. And this is from women, so it's with women it's really the posture interruptions, pulling, not enough time to get the job done. This is the most severe problems in Switzerland among women, employed women. Yes, this is kind of older picture of the workplace in Switzerland. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so we learned the costs are very high, and if we really analyze the factors, then we know better where prevention should be done. And it's really the combination of exposures and also combination of the symptoms that must be taken into account. And I have shown you that if we make simple comparison or logistic regression or cluster analysis, partly we get the same but not fully. So we really need a careful analysis. Okay, so thanks for your interest.